raising a point of order, would love to make sure that when you get to the point where you are going to be permitted to speak, that you speak to the point of order and not to go rambling off on something else.
Mr. Speaker, before I get to the point of order, I must say that I take umbrage to what you have just said, and I find it extremely disrespectful, and I am tired.
To say to the minister, it was happy to hear him announce something for broiler farmers or chicken farmers. There has been a shortage of baby chicks to supply to our small farmers. But where the challenge has come, Minister, is really the weather, because while we give them these baby chicks, at least 60 or 70% of what we give them basically perish by the time they come to even half the growth that is expected for them to come to full growth. What is it that the RADA officers in this period, how is it that they are able to, especially having a shortage of extension officers, how is it that they are able to go out there to assist the farmers in a fulsome way, in seeing that additional resources are now being put out there to help these farmers? Because in many instances, Minister, as I traverse my constituency, and I'm sure that many of the members of Parliament who traverse their constituencies, who are really farming communities, a lot of them are still saying that they have not seen an extension officer. And while not seeing an extension officer, they are feeling as if they are left out there to fend for themselves without any assistance, because we as members of Parliament, what we get from the Ministry of Agriculture is still inadequate to help. And you have announced how many thousands of farmers have been assisted, but yet still there are still thousands out there who have not yet seen an extension officer and still have not gotten any assistance. So while we do celebrate Eat Jamaica month at a time when farmers are suffering, it will also be good to know from the minister himself the quantity of imports that is going to stabilize the sector itself going into the Christmas month, and what are the various, is it legumes, is it meat kind, what are the quantities that permits will be given for importation? One, for transparency, and two, to understand where it is going and who are the ones that will be importing the crops and the meat kind coming into the Christmas month. Mr. Farm Roads, again we're seeing with the rain, Beryl, Raphael, and the rains, the damage that has been done to our farm roads. And while we celebrate whenever we get a letter from the Ministry of Agriculture through RADA that one will be constructed, we have constantly complained about the quality of farm roads. We're trying to get more for less. And with climate change, and we're seeing the changing rain pattern, will there be a real look at how it is that we build these farm roads? Because you're spending more on the back end to rehabilitate these farm roads after the damage. Will we be looking at concrete roads in many of these areas? Will we be looking at, instead of a double surface, using more? Just a minute. Just
Wrapping up. 5 minutes.
2 minutes to complete, yes. May I please you, Mr. Speaker?
I am repeating instead.
The request is on the floor for the extension of the presenter's time. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. You may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hear quite a few mumbling on the other side, but I'm sure they are all affected as I have been affected and many other members on this side have been affected by the rains. So, Mr. Speaker, through you to the Minister, the issue of the farm roads, Mr. Speaker. Cousins is here and he has nowhere going, so nowhere going. But through you, Mr. Speaker, to the Minister, just the construction of farm roads, because I mean, just recently I got a letter from RADA saying the amount of farm roads that should be constructed in this financial year, and I know that many of them have not been started because of the weather. Are we going to relook at how it is we construct these farm roads? Because as I said before, we spend more on the back end rehabilitating these farm roads than on the front end in ensuring that we do them right the first time around.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Through you to the Minister, allow me, if you will, Mr. Speaker, just a few words to our farmers before I move to my question. I believe just based on the hardships that they have faced, that it is indeed timely for us to also encourage our farmers and to let them know that we are conscious of the challenges that they have faced, and that given their role, Minister, as the backbone of our economy and food security, that it is important, the role they play is important, and that as we sit here from time to time, we'll make sure that they are front and center in terms of what we do and say. Minister, I had a question to ask you, and the question really comes against the backdrop of my sitting here and listening to you speak about Eat Jamaica Month, November, and that we have consistently carried that since 2003. And I was wondering if you would agree with me, Minister, that if back in the 1970s, when Michael Manley began his Eat What You Grow and Grow What You Eat campaign, if we could have gotten bipartisan support at that time, how much further would we have been? How much further would we have been? And what have we lost? And what have we lost? What have we lost by being politically myopic? What have we lost by being politically myopic that we could not act on behalf of the people of Jamaica? And today we come with pomp and flair, acting as if we are so patriotic and we believe in our farmers now. What happened back in the 1970s? Lest we forget. Lest we forget.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. A question for the Honorable Minister. But before, I need to make a small correction. The member from Northwest Manchester spoke that all of us are affected by high mortality rate with small poultry farmers. The little I know about poultry, the standard mortality rate should be 10%. So if his farmers are having a 50% mortality rate, he's choosing the wrong people. 70, he's choosing the wrong people to give the chickens. Secondly, I would like to ask on that matter, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member from, I believe, Southwest, St. Andrew, spoke to a very solid hypothetical theory. And I would like to bring it back to a practical matter. When the states of emergencies were declared, when Bruce Golding was there, and the opposition did not support us, where would we have been with crime if we had gotten that support for the states of emergency? The question to the Honourable Minister, is he's encouraging, and we wish to congratulate the Minister for the program that he has outlined here. A very solid program, a very relevant program, a program that the farmer.
Members, member from Manchester, member from St. Mary, your time given was to ask a question. I am going to ask you to get to the question immediately, or else.
Mr. Speaker, the question, before I ask the question, I have to praise the minister because he's doing good. And the question, you have to give me back that time. The question I'm asking, sir, in this program of Eat Jamaica, I know this Irish potato was not included, and I know it's an oversight because the farmers in St. Mary are asking, and Guys Hill are asking, and Highgate, farmers in St. Mary are asking why we never hear about the Irish potato part. So I'm going to appeal to the minister to read that page and don't let the opposition let him cut his speech short.
Member from St. Mary's Central, before you take the floor, let me remind all members of this House that unless you are the person presenting, you only ask a question. And for those who love to make long speeches before they get to the question, we are going to minus the time. All right? So let's have member from St. Mary's Central question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. But just to assure you that my parliamentary principles are grounded many years in this House. Question, Minister. You mentioned that baby chicks will be given as part of the productive incentive program and that you want them in time for Christmas. No, Christmas is 6 weeks away, and it means that they should be already in the areas. No. I mean, it takes 6 weeks to market, Minister. So I am asking if measures are being taken to ensure that there's an expeditious delivery to the farmers so that they can get them in time for market as Christmas, as you have indicated.
All right, let me thank all the members. Let me start with the member from St. Mary. So just to highlight, we have an ongoing poultry program, right? So thus far, we had earmarked to distribute about 100,000 birds, right? And we have passed the 70% mark. That's a mixture of broiler chicks and also layers, right? So that is ongoing. Yeah, so that is ongoing. In relation to the parliamentary program, the indication is that we'll get that out this week so that you can start treating with your farmers this week. So that is the intention in that regard. For the member from Western St. Mary, yes, so very good question in relation to our Irish program. So I didn't mention the Irish and Onion because those are separate flagship programs, and we plan to have a launch event for it for this month. But just to say, we have $100 million as a part of our Irish program. A lot of our Better Irish farmers are from St. Mary, and we will be supporting them. In fact, we already have the Irish seeds are already here, and we are starting distribution this week. So your farmers, especially that New Pen area, can look forward. And you will know that we're also looking to come up with a solution for the water in relation to New Pen, in relation to that area. I will address some of the matters mentioned by the member from Northwest Manchester. It took me a little time because normally you're not really sure who is going to respond to agriculture from the other side, because clearly they do not believe that agriculture is important enough to have a spokesperson who sits in the House of Parliament. But with that said, yeah, with that said, I thank the member from Northwest Manchester who raised a number of good matters. So a couple of things. So in relation to the hurricane burial assistance, I think most people appreciate that recovery is a process. It takes time. So each week we get to more farmers, right? We have a long-standing challenge in relation to the number of our extension officers vis-a-vis the number of our farmers. One extension officer serves about 1,000 farmers, so that is a real challenge. Part of what we've been trying to do is to infuse technology so that we can serve our farmers better by spreading our wings using the technology. So we now have rather mobile applications on Android and on iPhone that people can download. They can actually go and self-report when they have damage, things of that nature. So it will take us some time, but we are moving. So as I said, we're over 22,000 farmers and counting. We would have just started our greenhouse program, and last week, Friday, we would have started distribution to greenhouse farmers in Manchester and in St. Elizabeth. I was with member cousins last week, Wednesday, in Clarendon by Denby, where we would have given some farmers some support. So each week, we reach to more farmers. I want to say to the farmers, those who have not yet been reached, we're coming to you, because step by step we're leading the recovery process. In relation to imports, I'll make it very, very clear. As Minister of Agriculture, I do not like imports, right? That is not our focus. We focus first on driving local production. The only time we look to imports is if our local production has fallen short because of weather events. So what we have seen from Hurricane Beryl is that where we had challenges would have been in our vegetable lines. So we had challenges around our leafy vegetables, and as such, normally where you have that shortfall, you would look to see if you tap into supplemental sources. So the only areas that we've tapped into thus far is around our vegetables and our fruits. Clearly, we had significant loss in relation to things like cantaloupe, and as such, we look to shore up that supply chain. That's what we will do with this approach in terms of Raphael. So it's not automatic, and the only people who we treat with are people who already have a market. If you don't have a market, then, you know, when it comes to import, we want to ensure that whoever is importing, it is going into a set marketplace. It's not just to import and have a free-for-all. So that is how we're treated with it. In relation to the farm roads, two things. We have changed how we looked at the farm roads, and I agree with you, member. This year when I looked at it, I said to the team, we have to see if we can up the individual road allocation. We have to ensure that we're putting in drains in our roads where they need culverts, put in the culverts. So what it does mean is that it might not stretch as far, but at the end of the day, we have more durable roads. And thus far, I've been looking at some of the postings from the members. I'm seeing that the farm roads are coming with drains. I want to keep that up, right? So what it does mean, and I say it means that we will do less roads than we did last year, but the roads will be more durable, right? So I don't want that to become political fodder, because at the end of the day, we all have to do what's in the best interest of the country. We are going to be doing pilots around concrete roads. So we would have looked at two options, not just straight concrete roads, but our major concrete provider has a solution that they have implemented in other parts of the Americas. So we have already identified 3 roads in different climatic conditions across the country. We plan to do that before the end of the financial year so that we can see what is the stretch, what is the value, and how do they stand up to the elements. Once we come up with a solution that is durable and is cost effective, then we will embark on that solution. And finally, I recognize that the member from Southwest St. Andrew just wanted to make a fundamental point. I understand that, you know, some people are still bounded. I wasn't born in the 1970s. So I appreciate the need to try and validate a time period. Every leader, allow me to respond. Allow me to respond. Allow me to respond.
Yeah, you're imputing motive. I didn't stand to validate anything. I did not stand to validate anything. And it is time we recognize that individuals have an opinion that must also
imputed. I was giving my opinion as to my view of what the member said. And in my opinion, it came across as an attempt to validate. And if she would allow me, she would recognize that I'm not necessarily saying something bad. No, allow me. So I definitely believe that any message around self-sufficiency, around ensuring that we can feed ourselves, is a message to be supported, regardless of the political party, regardless of the person. It is a message to be supported. And it is a message that has carried across multiple administrations. So, of course, Michael Manley spoke about it. Edward Seaga did something about it, right? That is when we had Agro 21. That is when we had the AMC. That is when we had storage. What is not acceptable is talk without action. So the difference now, Mr. Speaker, is that when we say eat what you grow and grow what we eat, we're also saying we're investing $10 billion in irrigation so that you can have access to water, so that you can grow sufficient food, so we can eat what we grow and grow what we eat. We're also saying we're investing millions in storage. We're investing millions in our youth. So we're not just giving a tagline. We're giving something that action comes behind. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member, whenever you rise to speak, before you just go flowing, you have to be acknowledged by the speaker. I sat here and I watched you turn the mic on for me to give you the go-ahead, and you start speaking without even saying anything. All right, madam? Thank you very much. You're rising at point of order. Would love to make sure that when you get to the point where you are going to be permitted to speak, that you speak to the point of order and not to go rambling off on something else.
Mr. Speaker, before I get to the point of order, I must say that I take umbrage to what you have just said, and I find it extremely disrespectful. And I am tired of coming to Parliament, and because you guys don't agree with us, you are as disrespectful as you are. I would not even dignify with continuing with a conversation here.
Once again, all of us must remember that we must always stay above. I am saying to you, Whenever you rise on a point of order, get to the point of order. That's all. All right? Do you wish to raise a point of order? Okay, thank you very much.